Hi, Archie.
How are you today?
I'm great. You know, when I see that piano behind you, the only thing I can think of is, wow, I'd really like it if you could play a song for me.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me see this one. Okay. One more.
That was awesome. I love that. So maybe on a different day, you can play another one for me, okay?
Okay.
I can tell how much you practice. Good job. All right. Well, where we left off.
It's there. Hello, Earth to Mia.
Right. Earth to Mila, come in, Mila. Because Mila was daydreaming. She was lost in thought. All right, so they arrive at Kim's house. Kim met us. Now this pronoun us is going to include the person who's talking. It's a first person pronoun, so it includes the person who's talking, that's Jigsaw, plus at least one other person, and that is his partner, Mila. So Kim met us, Jigsaw and Mila, at the front door. She had short hair and neat, straight teeth. 3 freckles danced on the tip of her nose. People said that Kim Lewis was cute as a button. I didn't know about that. I'd never seen a cute button before. Okay, there's 2 things in this paragraph that I want to mention because something I like about this book and that Jigsaw does a lot is play with the English language. He plays with words and he uses different types of figurative language. Remember that we've talked about how language can either be literal, which means it means exactly what it sounds like. The meaning is just what we would find in a dictionary. If I said, here is a piece of cake, that means happy birthday, get a fork, it's chocolate. Okay, you can eat it. Or we can have figurative meaning. And this is when the meaning is different from what it sounds like. And if I say, it's a piece of cake, there is no cake. It means, oh, that's super easy.
It's very easy.
Right. So language can either be literal or figurative. And there's lots of different kinds of figurative language. We've talked about some. For example, we talked about the simile that uses like or as blank as. I think we also mentioned the metaphor. If not, we will look at that later. But there's another
Hello.
That's when you say, Earth to Miss Camp, Earth to Miss Camp. Come in, Miss Camp. I'm just thinking, I'm going to tell you about another type of playing with the English language, and I'm going to tell you a super fancy word, and I am trying to decide if I would put it underneath figurative language or not. And I think maybe I will not talk about it as being figurative. I'm just going to talk about it being its own thing. And it's something called, it starts with the word person. Do you see the word person?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to change color so you can really see the word person in this word, but I have a long way to go because it's a very long word. Person, and then I have the word if. I'm going to run out of room on my page here. All right, boy, what a long word that is. Even though this says person, we are going to change how we say it in order to include it in this very long word. The whole word goes like this: personification. Personification. You want to try to say it? It's kind of fun.
Personification.
Perfect. That's right. Wow. You should give yourself a pat on the back. You know how to do that? Reach behind you and pat your back. There you go. Good job. Personification is a fun thing that an author can do when they're writing. And it's when they take something that's not a person, maybe even something that's not even living, and then treat it like it can do things that only a person can do. For example, we have an example in what we read here, so I'm going to show you. Do you see in this sentence right here, three freckles danced on the tip of her nose? Well, what do you think is the subject of that sentence? Remember, the subject comes first. So what is that sentence about? Three what?
Three freckles danced on the tip of nose.
Now that's the whole sentence. The subject is just the freckles. But you might not know what a freckle is. Do you know what a freckle is?
No.
Have you ever seen anyone that has some little brown dots on their cheeks or on their
Oh, I know.
or maybe on their arm or on their back? They have these little kind of, and sometimes when we draw a picture of someone with freckles, we might just, you know, make their face and their eyes and their nose. And then for the freckles, we can just go dot, 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 dot. I'm not making very good freckles. Dot, 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 to make their freckles. So now a freckle is just a dot. It's when the color of your skin is changed in that one tiny little spot, that little tiny space. So do we think of a freckle as something that's living, like a person?
No.
No. So let's look at the verb that the author put next to it. The author used the word danced. Now, dancing is something that people can do, right? It's something that a person can do. It's when you're moving around and jumping and hopping and twirling and spinning. And so you're dancing. Now, do you think a freckle can really dance? Do you think a freckle can just hop off your face and kind of jump around? No, so this does not make sense. But the author is writing the sentence that doesn't seem like it makes sense. Why is the author doing that? Well, the author is using this kind of writing technique called personification. And so it's when you take something that is not a person or is not living, like a freckle, and then give it a verb, something it can do that usually only people can do. Okay, another example would be the wind whistled. Well, the wind is not living. It does not have a name. It cannot talk. It's just some weather outside. And so whistling, I can't whistle. Can you whistle?
No.
I'm not good whistling, but that's something that a person would do. So if the author says the wind whistled, that's another example of personification. So that's one thing the author does in this paragraph. And then the next thing is right here. Do you see in this next, I'll put blue around it, right here, this sentence. Here it says, people said that Kim Lewis was cute as a button. Now they could have written it by saying was, this will be a hint for you. If they said was as cute as a button, does that remind you of anything? If I say, did you say a simile?
Yeah.
Good, that's right. See, there's the as and there's the other as. And so we have a simile because, let's check. We have noun number 1, that's Kim Lewis. We have noun number 2, that's the button. We have the, what color should I use? I'll use green. We have the as and the as, and then in between it, we have what they have in common. I'll use red, which is cute. And so with this simile, this is the kind using as and as, even though they don't have it right here, we could put it there. And since we can put it there, we could say it is implied. That means we know that the author means it, even though it's not written down. So we are saying, well, a button must be cute. I think this simile is kind of interesting because most people don't actually think of a button as cute, but this is a really famous simile and it has been used for so long, maybe over 100 years. And so most Americans or people who are used to reading books in English have heard this simile many times, often with a grandma talking about their grandchild or a little baby and saying, oh, she's cute as a button. And I'm not sure how it ever started or whoever thought a button was cute, but this is one of those similes where it's helpful to just be familiar with some famous sayings and expressions in English. So here we have to assume that a button is cute, and we use that knowledge to help us say, oh, okay, so this girl Kim is really cute. That's what this is telling us. Now, do you know what the word cute means?
Yes, but I don't know how to describe it.
I don't either. I was hoping you did. Well, let's see. Cute, I think, is usually used to describe, I think most of the time it's used to describe kids. And it's usually talking about how someone looks, and there's something about how they look that just makes the person happy. And so I think they use the word cute. So it's a nice word. It's not a mean word. All righty. And then this part right here with Jigsaw saying, I'd never seen a cute button before. He's kind of trying to be funny. Okay, so he does this a lot. We're going to see this a lot where he will use some common famous expression or simile, and then he'll be kind of silly about it. You know, he'll all of a sudden look at it literally. And so because the expression is figurative, if you take a figurative expression and all of a sudden look at it literally, well, that's funny because you're not supposed to look at it literally. You are supposed to look at it figuratively. And so if you on purpose say, yeah, I know it's figurative, but I'm going to comment on it as though it is literal, then you're trying to be funny on purpose. Because this simile, this expression of being cute as a button, has nothing to do with buttons. And that's why Jigsaw is being kind of funny. So Kim is going to say to them, I've been a mess since I found the note. Kim admitted, my sister Kayla suggested I call you. What do you think it means to say I've been a mess? Usually we use the word mess to talk about something that is messy, which means it's not organized. You know, we have papers and things all over the table, or toys all over the floor, or dishes all over the counter. So things need to be put away, and they're not put away. They're just kind of everywhere. So we say it's a mess. So here, Kim is saying, I've been a mess. This would be an example of figurative language, because she's not literally a mess. She can't be a mess. She's a human. She's a person. If you look at a bunch of toys all over the ground, that's a mess. That's not a person. So this is another example of figurative language, but it's not using like or as. And so instead of calling it a simile, we could call it a metaphor. It's when two things are being compared. One thing being compared is Kim. She's the one talking, so she's the I. Now we know that this I is not Jigsaw because there are quotation marks in front of it. And so we know a character is talking, and it tells us the character is Kim. So this is Kim. And then the other noun is mess, a mess. So those two nouns are being compared. The author is using the noun mess to help us, the reader, learn something about Kim. So Kim, she can't really literally be a mess. So what is the author trying to tell us? Well, this is kind of an expression. When we say I've been a mess, it means that our feelings inside our head are kind of all over the place, just like toys all over the floor. Our feelings and our thoughts and what we're thinking about and how we're feeling is just kind of all over the floor in our mind, in our head. So we don't really know how we feel. We might feel a little bit of everything, a little sad, a little worried, a little trying to be hopeful, but maybe discouraged, maybe angry, maybe confused. And so when you have all of those different feelings going on and you can't really figure out exactly what to think or how to feel, then you could say, I'm a mess. Now, we've got so many on this page. We're not getting very far on this page because on this page, there are so many examples of Jigsaw playing with the English language. And this is the last one we're going to talk about today. Let me read the whole paragraph. Now there's no quotation marks here, so this I is Jigsaw, right? The one telling us the story. I chewed on that fact for a while. It was like cafeteria food. I had a hard time swallowing it. Kayla Lewis was in middle school with my brother, Daniel. All right, so a couple things I want to point out here. Chewed on that fact. This is an interesting expression or phrase in English because a fact is a piece of information, like an idea. Is that something we can chew on? Can we take some information, some words, and just stick it in our mouth and go, chom, chom, nom, 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 right? That doesn't make sense. So this is another example of figurative language. It's not literal. Okay, Jigsaw is not literally chomping up and down with his teeth on some idea or some piece of information. When we say chewed on that fact, that means he's thinking about it. That's what that means. He's thinking about it. But what we need to think about is, what is that fact? What is he thinking about? Well, we have to look back and see what just happened. Kim just finished saying that her sister Kayla suggested that Kim, call you Jigsaw. So that fact, the fact that Kayla, who is a girl in middle school, suggested that Kim call Jigsaw a second grader. Well, that's interesting. Jigsaw's thinking, why would a girl in middle school, that would be 6th, 7th, 8th grade, why would she suggest to her little second grade sister that she call me Jigsaw? I'm only in 2nd grade. Why would a middle school person think about me, about Jigsaw, and suggest that she call me a 2nd grader? That fact of Kayla suggesting or giving an idea to Kim to call Jigsaw is what Jigsaw is chewing on, what he's thinking about. Now, his thinking about this was like cafeteria food. And this is where he's going to make a simile, a comparison. This is a tricky one. So stay with me. But first we have to look at this pronoun it. Now it is actually this whole thing. Okay? So his thinking about the fact that this middle school student had the idea that her sister Kim should call a 2nd grader, okay, that fact, and that Jigsaw's thinking about it, that was like, actually, maybe I should just say this part, that fact is what it is, was like cafeteria food. So you can see the word like, whoops. Like means we've got a simile. Okay, so now you have to have 2 nouns. So here's one noun, cafeteria food, and then it is the other, but that we have to remember that that's that fact, and we have to remember that fact is talking about Kayla's suggestion. So it's super tricky. So Kayla suggesting to her sister that they call Jigsaw is like cafeteria food. What? Well, that can't be literally true. So now we have to stop for a minute and think about, what do we know about cafeteria food? Well, he's going to tell us. He says, I had a hard time swallowing it. So he's telling us, number one, he doesn't like cafeteria food. He thinks it doesn't taste very good, and he has a hard time swallowing it. So so the idea that the middle school girl thinks that it would be a good idea for her sister Kim to call a 2nd grader, he has a hard time swallowing that. Okay, it means that it doesn't really make sense to him. You know, he's thinking about it, he's chewing on it, he's thinking about it, and then he's like, I don't swallow that. That means I don't agree that that makes sense. That's weird. Something's off about this. Okay, this is kind of an important, something important in the story for us to remember. So if we had the paper book right in front of us, I would say that we should earmark that page. You know, we should take that page and fold over the corner and be able to come back and look at it later, because he's actually making a really big deal about this, right? He has this whole paragraph right here where he's talking about this one fact, that it was Kim's sister Kayla who had the idea of Kim calling Jigsaw. And then he spends a whole paragraph using kind of funny figurative language, because he likes to be clever with words, play with words, and be funny. He likes to do that. And he's like, I'm chewing on it, but I don't swallow it. It's like cafeteria food. Doesn't taste good. And why does he have a hard time believing this? Why does it not make sense to him? Well, here he says, Kayla was in middle school with my brother Daniel. And so he just thinks, you know, middle school kids, they don't take us second graders seriously. You know, they think they're so important and they're so much older than we are. They wouldn't think a second grader could do anything. So why in the world would a middle schooler be suggesting that a second grader get called to solve a mystery of a missing necklace, which is kind of important and a big deal. So you'd really want to hire someone that you think could do the job. And he doesn't really believe that I mean, he knows his brothers, Daniel and Nick, they're in middle school. And he's like, I don't think middle school kids would believe that a second grader could do it. So he thinks it's very fishy, very mysterious that Kayla would suggest to Kim that she call Jigsaw. Does that make sense? It's very confusing, actually. I'm curious if it makes sense to you.
Hello, Earth to Karen.
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
All right, good. So we're going to go ahead and put our star right there. And I'm going to stop share.
I send you something.
Oh, you sent me something else. Oh, excellent. I was worried that I was going to forget.
Then, and I send you something.
Oh, I see that. Okay, time to say.
So long. Church.
Bye, Archie.
Bye.